What is up, my fellow Chibits? Today, I'm here to bring all of you the weekly anime review of Tales of Unlimited Budget by Studio Votable. Episode 4, to be exact, or actually episode 5 if we're counting episode 0. So, this episode, we have a pout game going on, and I that's what I gotta dive into head first. Like, the Lady of the Lake in that pout game reminds me a lot of one of the scenes in Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. It reminds me a lot of Saber, a certain scene. And just seeing this pout game of the Lady of the Lake, I'm like, yo, that's pretty damn on point right there. Just the way her face was pouting, I'm like, and all that. I was like, yo, that's so cute. It's so fucking cute. So, I think my favorite female character so far of, Tales is probably her. Definitely the Lady of the Lake. I think she's probably my favorite now. Just seeing the way her persona was in this episode, the way she carries herself. She's just such a cool character, and I love her design as well. And as I already talked about in last week's episode, big fan of the designs of the characters, and especially the design of the Lady of the Lake. I just love her entire attire as well. So, what is this episode about? Well, for one, as we know, our main character, he has now become the shepherd. And with this episode, we see changes starting to happen to our main character today. He is now being able to sense the darkness that completely surrounds the area. He's able to feel these certain emotions that humanity causes, and now he can find out the source of where it's coming from. He can find Hellions and stuff like that. And it leads him into these ancient ruins, which were sealed off long ago. We don't know exactly the origin of the entirety of the ruins, why they're there, but whatever the case may be, the ruins were sealed off, people died, and thanks to their death when their flesh was decaying, these emotions seeped out and caused Hellions to spawn. And so we get to see some of the aspects of, this series, this Tales-verse, of how emotions for people can spawn these creatures. And, I mean, it's already kind of been explained in last week's episode it was explained, but we get to see another, example of what happens if so many emotions mix together at once. This dark emotion, it can cause these creatures to spawn. And we kind of get the in-game goal kind of laid out before us. Our main character, Sorei, he has to take down the Lord of Calamity. And as we know, since this is based off of a JRPG, there has to be some form of in-game boss. There always is in these type of series. And so it's kind of like we got the in-game boss displayed before us. The in-game boss would be the Lord of Calamity, which is the dragon. I'm assuming it's the dragon we saw in episode 0. That, big, like, twister thing, and we saw the dragon and stuff. I'm going to assume that is the Lord of Calamity. And at the end of the episode, it gives us a cliffhanger with this twister coming in, and it looks very similar to what happened to the town. That most likely is the Lord of Calamity as well, or something very close to him coming into the town. So we might get a glimpse at some of the power of the main in-game boss of the series in next week's episode. So I'm kind of excited because, I mean, one of the things I'm really interested in when it comes to, this series and seeing how the in-game boss is. And that's one of the things I love about, JRPGs. I always love getting to see the bosses, the in-game goal and stuff, and seeing, how Studio Votable, they've been doing a really good job with this anime so far. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Lord of Calamity actually can do, what type of personality does this character have, and also how he carries himself. Even though it's a dragon, I'm going to assume he has some intelligence, and he's probably a really good villain. We'll just have to see where it goes from there. Now, other things too, throughout the episode, you see this slow, subtle build-up of other scenes, like, how our main female character, Alicia, how she can actually start to talk to spirits eventually. She can start talking to someone like, the Lady of the Lake over time. Now, she always had the ability to talk to them, and it's probably because of, she has a royal heritage, but over time, though, she will be able to communicate without, constantly having to do, no senses for our main character, Sorei, where he can actually just relay the conversation. She can see them. He won't have to just, stop breathing and shit. He'll actually be able to just display what they're saying. So I can't wait to see when, that finally develops, where Alicia can kind of intermingle with the group a little bit more, where she can actually communicate with the Lady of the Lake and stuff, because that's something I want to see. I mean, there was a lot of cute moments between the characters, like their interactions and stuff, as Sorei was trying to showcase, that they're actually there, their voices are there, and, maybe Alicia can actually hear them. There was a lot of cute moments and interactions through this, and I do like the scene to when the princess grabs Sorei's hands, you have it to where she doesn't get embarrassed or nervous, and I expected something like that, because as I've said many times in the past, usually when you see a romance, or when a female character's trying to grab a male character's hands or something, hand touching, it's something that usually a character either slaps the main character, an embarrassing situation happens, or there's an argument. For instance, like, usually the main female character will be like, oh, don't touch me with your hand, or she gets him very embarrassed and slaps the character, yells at him or something, and I'm glad to see how mature the princess is, of how she was able to kind of just handle it in a normal fashion, a mature fashion, and try to hear the voices of the spirits. I'm a big fan of that. I'm glad to see that type of character trait to our main female character of the series, seeing how she didn't overreact and then, you know, just start doing mean things to the main character. So yeah, I mean, overall, when it came to this episode, is a very gradual and slow build up to the final part of the episode. The final part of the episode is very intense. I love the animation art, especially on the scene, especially the rain effects and stuff, when you see our main character running out and all that, especially with the princess as well, and you just see the rain coming down, the storm and all that. It's a really good way to end the episode off of, and I can't wait. And oh yes, there is one thing I do need to mention, and that would be probably the sound direction. Now, Studio Photable, they are pretty damn good when it comes to sound effects and stuff like that. That's one of the big things about their studio, besides art and animation. It always comes down to sound effects. It's like, you know, Karno Kyokai. If you've ever watched that movie series, Karno Kyokai, you kind of know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of sound effects in that movie series that Studio Photable made, like, you know, to opening up water bottles, opening doors, or movement on a bed. It's just, some of the sound effects in that movie series is just fucking breathtaking. And seeing some of these sound effects throughout this episode as well, especially when characters are moving or interacting with each other, I really appreciate these subtle little details, and not many people really appreciate that aspect of anime, which kind of gets me upset, because, I mean, many people overlook it, myself included. I overlook it a lot as well. Many people overlook the little things that really make an episode so much more than what it is. And seeing, you know, these little sound effects added in throughout the episode, besides just the music or the voices, it makes me happy. Now, getting into the music, oh my god, that battle music, when the Bat Hellion popped up, that battle music, fucking, it was fucking great. Oh, I was a big fan of that music. That is a really, really nice soundtrack. Oh, I mean, Studio Photable always makes some good soundtracks for anime, but damn, that was a really good fucking song. I like that song. That's like a song I would listen to if I'm playing a JRPG. That's exactly what it sounds like. And now, I don't know necessarily if that song is from the game or not. I don't know if it's remixed. I have no idea if it was taken. I don't know if it's a new song, because I do know Studio Photable also, when they, you know, adapt games like Fate, they use songs from the actual game in the anime, and they kind of remix it just a little bit to be a little bit different, and I wonder exactly if they're doing that similar to what they did to Fate. I wonder if they're doing that to, you know, Tales. So let me know, you know, the game players, people that have actually played the games of, you know, Tales of Zestiria, let me know. Are they making the music like kind of like a remixed version? Is it new music? I'm very curious about that, because it kind of add a different layer to this anime if it is remixed. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I mean, how do you feel about everything in this episode? How do you feel about the, you know, the origin of the Lord of Calamity? How do you feel about, you know, what the Shepherd has to do? Let me know your overall thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.